Ladies and gentlemen, this house believes that celebrities who openly use or glorify drugs should not be nominated for awards. We, on this side of the house, stand to propose this motion. So firstly, before moving in, let me tell you exactly what I'm going to talk to you about today. Firstly, I'm going to define certain terms, tell you who exactly celebrities are, what we mean by celebrities. I'll tell you what kind of drugs we are talking about. I'll tell you what awards we're talking about, and I'll tell you what do we mean by use and glorify these drugs, ladies and gentlemen. So firstly, celebrities, ladies and gentlemen, we're telling you that celebrities are not merely artists. They're people who are extremely popular, they're people who are well known, and most importantly, as the word says, celebrated. Which means that we're not talking about a very good painter who's not known by anybody. We're talking about a sports person, a movie person, a cinema artist, a lot of other people who are very, very well known, are very, very popular, ladies and gentlemen. Drugs, well, let's do this. We're not talking about soft drugs, we're just talking about hard drugs, universally accepted to be harmful. We're not talking about drugs which are a little controversial, where the harms really don't know. We're not talking about medicinal drugs, etc., etc. We're only talking about really, really hard drugs, which we know have, I'll just take it in a minute, sir, which we know are universally bad. And that's it. Awards we talk about, we're six rational people of the world, so we're kind of talking about every award, we're leaving it open. We're talking about the Oscars, we're talking about awards by their peer groups, every kind of award that's possible. We'll not nominate for them for any kind of award, any kind of recognition, because we understand awards are a way to recognize people. Lastly, we're also defining to you what do we mean by use and glorify. We are saying that use and glorify, who openly use or glorify, ladies and gentlemen, these are both important words. We are saying that when you glorify the use of drugs, it's not that if you're going to use drugs, or if you're going to say that, send out a message that, look, use of drugs is bad. So a movie like Requiem for a Dream or something like that is not something we're looking to not nominate actors for. Just saying. We're saying that if you're going to send a message, however it is, that use of drugs is cool, use of drugs is acceptable. That is what we mean by use and glorify. Yes, sir, what's your point?
So are you saying that Bob Marley at the peak of his career could never win the best reggae artist? And what is your position on the glorification of violence?
Yes, sir. We'll take it out in a minute, sir. Yes, we think that Bob Marley at his peak of his career should not be nominated for an award, simply because, and I'll come to that later, how celebrities have a larger responsibility and how we think it's okay for us to hold them to that responsibility, and how we think their responsibility and their status as celebrities exceeds and goes beyond them just being good artists, ladies and gentlemen. So let me come to the celebrity influence point and get straight into it. Now, what are we talking about celebrities? We are saying that these celebrities have a lot of influence. Bob Marley today is a very, very influential person. Let us also remember that a lot of people, the entire hippie movement, and thanks for bringing it up, the entire hippie movement and the entire movement in America in the 1960s did glorify drugs, and a lot of people in America then did start taking drugs because Bob Marley was taking it, and that's exactly what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, and we think it's wrong. So why not, we think that they have a responsibility to manage their image, ladies and gentlemen, and why? Because we think that, firstly, their image depends on the public liking them, ladies and gentlemen. Their entire influence and image depends because the public makes them celebrities, ladies and gentlemen. Secondly, we also believe it's only fair because whatever it is, they're at the end of the day put in a position where they're in a position to influence the choice of a lot of people, ladies and gentlemen. And we think that is very important because this important position cannot be wasted and cannot be used for things that are universally wrong. So something like drugs, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take you in a minute, sir. So what is the need for this, ladies and gentlemen? Let's establish this. Having told you that celebrities are people who can influence, let's tell you the need and why we need to do this. Because we know that we need to discourage drugs, ladies and gentlemen. We need to discourage this very, very hard use of drugs because we know what are the harms of taking cocaine, heroin, etc. I don't need to really go into that. What are the harms? There are numerous harms, ladies and gentlemen, of taking these drugs. So now, look, why do people still use it and why do we need to go the extra step and not just make it illegal? We also realize that most of these drug users, all of these drug users are illegal all over the world. So why do we need to do this at all, ladies and gentlemen? The reason is that, look, illegality doesn't work. Why? Because if I told you that drugs are illegal, doesn't still stop you from getting it from the black market because you think it's acceptable and you think the government is a fool to ban the drugs because the celebrities were telling you so, because Bob Marley was telling you so, and you obviously choose Bob Marley's word over the government's word, ladies and gentlemen. That happens in reality because often Bob Marley is universally popular, ladies and gentlemen. That is important. Yes, sir. What's your point?
So you would also ban artists to glorify violence, like Eminem and so on and so forth.
I'll just take you in a minute. I'll just come to glorification of violence in a second. So ladies and gentlemen, we tell you about this, and we tell you that celebrities contribute to that, and we tell you that celebrities contribute to the effect that taking drugs is cool, and hence it means that we need to go a step step beyond just illegality and just saying that these drugs are banned, ladies and gentlemen. So now what is the message that we're sending to people? What is the message that we'll be sending if we do this, ladies and gentlemen? Why we think it'll work? First, what's the message that we send to people? We send a message to people that look, taking of drugs is not cool, ladies and gentlemen. We send a message to people that look, people who you thought were good and people who took drugs, look, they're the ones who are being ostracized. They're the ones who are being denied recognition because they took drugs. Ergo, if you take drugs, we think it's okay for us to ostracize you. Not sir, we're not taking any more POIs. It's okay for us to ostracize you. And the message that we're sending is that, look, it's just not cool to take drugs just because some celebrity takes it and he's paying the cost for doing the same, ladies and gentlemen. So that is, let me make this very clear, we are not against disallowing the use of drugs altogether. We are not against disallowing the use, like we are talking about recognizing only in awards, right? We don't say, we're not against banning the use of drugs and glorifying of drugs altogether. Why are we saying that we only ban them? This is important because we think that it's an essential first step to take. We don't think that in all over the world universally there is enough political will today to ban a kind of movies altogether. So we think it's an essential first step that we need to take so that a momentum is created, so that ultimately the ultimate goal that we want to achieve is that someday we'll be able to ban movies which glorify movies or ban celebrities altogether or jail them or whatever it is who glorify drugs altogether, ladies and gentlemen. Lastly, let me talk about the celebrities themselves. We understand that a lot of celebrities depend on these awards for recognition, on these awards for their own celebrities. I'm not saying that all celebrities do, but I'm saying a lot of celebrities do. We also tell them that for a lot of celebrities, recognition by their peers, which exactly is this award means, because when you get an award, you get recognized by your peers. This recognition itself is very, very important for a lot of celebrities. So what we tell you is that when they are banned from nominated for their awards, they don't get this recognition. They feel ostracized within their own peer group. More importantly, they also lose out on a potentially very huge fan base that they would have otherwise got when they won this award. So we tell you that celebrities have an incentive to actually stop glorifying drugs, and we tell you that this is going to work for all of these reasons that I've established before. And we think it's only fair to not nominate celebrities who actively, openly use and glorify violence. With that, we are very proud to propose this.
The House thanks Myla and calls the Leader of Opposition, please.
Madam Speaker, I think we're talking about this debate in the context of if we were a group of people who are going to give awards, what would be the criteria that we add on, or should we add on this criteria? Our position in today's debate is that we absolutely reject that open support for drugs or the usage of drugs should be a criteria for the nomination or even the granting of awards. We say we should retain the status quo where it should be purely out of the merit of the art that is produced. So this could be the various awards that are out there. It could be the People's Choice on the basis of popular vote. It could be the basis of expert opinion, as in the case of the Academy Awards. But fundamentally, we stick to the status quo where the question of the content supporting drugs or the creator of the content supporting drugs or having used drugs before being out of the criteria that we will use to describe it. So we're saying, in terms of the status quo, we don't think we need to change laws or anything about drugs. In fact, we're quite happy if these individuals use drugs and it's illegal in the jurisdiction that they use it in, they have to fail to pay the full penalty of those laws, although we're not thrilled about the idea. But we're saying, and neither are we saying that because they use drugs, we should give them awards for it, or we should, there should be some positive aspect either. We're saying that these awards or these awards groups should remain agnostic to this idea of whether drugs are used or not. And our stance is that artistic awards should be granted on the basis of the merit of the expression. Now I'm going to talk about it on three levels. Firstly, this idea of freedom of expression and value of diverse expression, and how that needs to be preserved by these organizations. Secondly, how it prematurely adjudicates and ends an ongoing debate. And finally, the credibility of the awards organizations themselves. My second speaker, NC, will talk about how this isolates communities and these musicians, and isolates communities and these musicians. But before I go into that, let me just point just a couple of things. Firstly, I don't think they drew a distinction between the violence we asked them about as well as the drug usage. Now, on our side, we don't think even the violence should be an issue in the music. We think, as far as we think anything goes as long as your beat is good, right? But we're saying more than that. This is where the crux of their case came from. They're going, essentially, celebrities have responsibilities. They have a greater responsibility to society. We say, firstly, We don't think that they do. We don't think that just because you're famous, you have a greater responsibility to society. You say, to a large extent, fame is a side effect of good expression. It is a side effect of creating good music. It has nothing to do with being an end goal in and of itself. Many artists like Pearl Jam express music and people like them, so they become famous. But there are maybe artists like Lindsay Lohan and stuff who become famous on their own. But even then, we don't think they have a responsibility to shape social norms, particularly because the responsibility works two ways. The public isn't forced to like them. They just do. There are aspects about them that attract the public, that resonate within the public. And we say, therefore, to say to the artist, you have a responsibility to behave in a way, because we recognize, to behave in a way that, you have additional responsibility because people like you to behave in a certain way, removes the fact that people like them as they are. But more than that, we think they stretch this influence, and we think there's a huge logical leap. Because not a lot of artists have won awards who are drug users, and we talked about Bob Marley, and this is on the status quo. So we don't think that has had any effect on drug usage that continues to go up on society. But more than that, we say, in terms of the message it sends, there are other avenues to send this message. An award ceremony isn't the place where you tell people that drugs are harmful, right? But let's go into my first point before that.
Yes. So can you, in the media, actually differentiate between the art and the artist? Do you think it's possible to distinguish between the two? Because if it's not, then your point on how it's about the art but not the artist is falls down.
I think it is possible, firstly, to make that distinction, but I think what you guys are doing is taking a very one-dimensional view of the artist, because these artists aren't about drugs. They don't go, I'm here to promote an agenda of drug usage and drug glorification. That is my raison d'etre, to be an artist and make this music, Mr. Speaker. Very few of them actually, or no one that comes to mind actually makes music just to do that. But let's go into my idea of freedom of expression, because democratic societies and actors within it should encourage freedom of expression for us also. So we say this impetus also lies on awards groups. They exist as awards groups and organizations that award awards, right, exist to promote quality expression. And we say art in this case is a form of that expression. Now, the role of the organization, therefore, is to award the delivery of the content. Is it nice sounding? Does it meet certain criteria? Not necessarily to evaluate the content itself, but particularly in the case of drugs. We say what will happen in their case, and they acknowledge this, is that we will get less diversity in music. Less people will be willing to express what they think about drugs, whether it's glorification or hating it, because we think there are two dimensions to how musicians sing about drugs and its effect on their community. And in this way, firstly, you are limiting the freedom of expression, because they rightly pointed out, awards are important to these individuals to progress their careers. If you don't allow them, or this becomes if there is a bar to creating certain expression, they won't make that expression. There will be a chilling effect, and they'll be forced to limit their expression if they hope to achieve widespread popularity, because they acknowledge these awards are important there. Secondly, we say, though, it removes the freedom of expression because it creates a one-dimensional evaluation of the artist's creation. It goes, you are your art and you are about drugs. Even though someone who might sing about drugs is also singing about life growing up in hardcore urban poor communities. They're talking about living in the projects where drugs are a reality there. And their music talks about it because it's the life that they know and it's the life that they're comfortable singing about. Secondly, we talk about how it prematurely adjudicates an ongoing debate. Because we don't think, unlike violence and other things, even then we're excluding that, but unlike other things that we might say are wrong, we think we haven't come to a conclusion on drugs yet. We say many societies are still debating the issue. And to a large extent, we regard drug usage as fundamentally a victimless crime. There are societies that have, to varying degrees, legalized drugs, or at the very least facilitated the safe usage of it through shoot-up centers, like Australia or the Netherlands. So we don't think it's as clear-cut as going, drugs are bad, we need to stop people from using it, because there are societies that acknowledge that's okay. But we think in their own material, they outline a slippery slope that you put these organizations on, because they start evaluating social norms. They try creating social values instead of music. They stop looking at the music and whether it sounds good, and more looking at what we want to progress in society. What next? Singing about marriage being between a man and a woman, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah. Finally, we say that the credibility of these organizations is at stake with this proposal. There are large groups of people who identify with these artists, and we acknowledge that. What you're essentially doing in this case is you're coming up here and saying you're misrepresenting the artist to these people. You're saying that this artist is only about this. And if these organizations and these awards hope to have any pull, if they hope to mean anything when they give the award to someone, we say fundamentally they have to resonate with what people see, they have to resonate with the artist's body of work as a whole, they have to resonate with the fact that he's more than, or she is more than just about drugs. So in conclusion, we say let art be art, let it win its awards on the basis of how good is it. Don't try and impose your ideas of drugs being good or bad into the art. We're proud to oppose.
Right, the House can state calls on our DTM and yours.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin my speech by first clarifying something that this side of the House has either misunderstood or mischaracterized. And I will be using the point that they brought up about the difference between violence and the drug use and drug glorification that we are talking about for that purpose. Essentially, what you need to understand over here is that there's a fundamental difference between violence and drug use inherently. What we are saying is that violence is indeed bad, and we are not against taking the same measures with regard to violence when it is unethical or immoral, because there's an aspect of ethics that comes into play when you're talking about violence. On the other hand, when you're talking about drugs, what you need to understand is that it is universally accepted that drug use is bad. Unless they can come over here and tell us that there is an ethically good aspect about drug use, what they need to understand is that the distinction that we are drawing stands, and their point about this comparison does not stand. Also, what we are saying is that, and this is where the clarification comes in, we are not banning the complete portrayal of drug use in the movies or in other screen. All that we are saying is that we are taking these steps against people who openly use or glorify this drug, something that has to be fundamentally understood. We are not talking about restricting artistic freedom and creative freedom completely. We are only talking about using it where the message that is being sent to the public is clear. And moving on to my second point, what they have talked about is the merit of the artist should be recognized. Now what we are telling you is this, and this is something fundamental that they have not understood. We are talking about the impact on the public. In the public eye, it is extremely difficult to distinguish between the art and the artist. Now they come over here, Tate comes and says that the people like that the award should be given to the art but not to the artist, and that they are indeed able to distinguish. It might be his belief, but that is merely an assertion. On the other hand, what we tell you is this. When the people see an actor, and in his own words, the people like the actor for what they are, and that's the word that they use. It might be on the basis of one earlier movie, right? But that liking for that actor continues to extend on, and that liking lingers on. So what you see is that much later on, if this actor is to come up and start glorifying, the liking still continues, and the influence still exists. Something that they have not considered at all. This is also related to the point about how they said that being famous is merely a side effect. Okay, so I'll take it back.
Can you please show us a country where arrested drug users have gone up to the police and said, Bob Marley made us do it?
What we are telling you is that there might, whether they say that or not, you cannot ignore the fact that the public influence is present, and that the people are getting influenced by the fact when, as they themselves have conceded, the people like a person, like an actor, and the actor is seen as glorifying something on screen, there is a direct link to these people coming up and being influenced by the actions of the actors on screen. They come up over here and talk about how being famous is a side effect of the good expression. Again, the distinction is not clear in the public eye, and therefore the movie that the movie star, for example, makes can influence them irrespective of whether or not the liking is based on that movie alone. Then they come up over here and talk about how democratic values must be promoted. And this is where we have already principally told them that these democratic values cannot be promoted at the cost of a great harm to society. The grave harm that is being caused by drugs is not contested from this side of the house, right? So what we are saying is that when there is this great harm, forget the promotion, even the existence of a democratic right can be subjugated to favor public policy. And this is precisely what we are saying. Principally, what they need to tell us here is why these democratic expression rights should be promoted in the face of and ignoring these grave dangers that exist. Now they talk about less diversity in music. We have already made clear that we are not banning it outright, only the glorification. And we think it is completely justified to ban that little portion that does glorify it, because again, we are talking about the harm that is being caused. Because the people and the actors over here, I'm using the example of actors, and the actors are connected, there is a direct link between them, and therefore the action of the actors is causing harm to the people. This harm principle is something that they need to address, and because of the existence of this great harm, the diversity in music is an inferior point that can be subjugated. And for all these reasons, we find that the points that they have made does not principally stand superior to the points that we have made. Now moving on to my substantives. The first thing that I will be telling you is that there is a cascade effect that is going to happen. What my Prime Minister came up over here and told you is that right now we do not have the immediate political will to immediately go for a ban. Instead, what we are witnessing is that there is an existing process where more and more people are turning into the use of these drugs, to a large extent influenced by the action of such celebrities. Now what we are saying is that if we do not control this now, there's going to be a cascade effect. Because actors use these drugs, more and more people are going to be influenced, and the social acceptance is going to increase. And because the social acceptance is increased, it starts a cycle. More actors are going to glorify these, and eventually what we state is that there will be a situation where the entire situation in a particular country or place is going to be something that might be where there's a strong demand for the very legalization of these drugs, for instance. Now we think it's a bad idea if we do not deal with this problem right now, and therefore we propose that this is a good first measure to start with on it. Also, I'm telling you that there are other benefits as well. There are economic benefits that we need to understand. It is universally accepted that drug use causes health problems, right? It also causes emotional problems to the members of the family of the person who uses drugs. So what we are saying is that from the government's point of view, it has a duty to the people who are being affected, and it also needs to recognize that there is a strong problem that is being caused. The productivity of people is going down, the fulfillment of the life of these people is going down in the country, and this is something that the government has the mandate of looking at and understanding. Because of these economic reasons also, if it were to take such a step and discourage the use of the drugs, the economic benefits that will gain from more people leading a productive life, and the less cost that they spend on healthcare, that the less cost that the state has to spend on healthcare, is also an additional point that supports our case. So what we have essentially told you is that there is no dispute about the grave harm that drugs causes. And principally, when there is a grave harm, democratic expression rights and creative freedom to an extent can be sacrificed, which is exactly what we are stating. We are not banning art outright. We are stating that where the distinction between the art and the artist in the public mind cannot be made clear, there is a duty on the government to step in and prevent the harm to the people. And this is precisely what we are doing. For these reasons, we propose.
Thanks, Sanil. That calls our DLO for today.
Madam Speaker and members of the House, I love my mom. Even if I listen to every day Eminem song, I hate my mom, right? But I still love my mom. Because my influence is not from the Eminem, right? It's my right that even if he said, I hate my mom, my influence is mine. Not everybody influenced by these people. If somebody's influenced by Eminem's song, it's the problem of that person, not just Eminem play a song itself. This is the question I want to ask in the first debate. And even if Eminem influenced these peoples, but they never first fast, you must selling drugs or taking drugs. then why Eminem and other peoples must take a responsibility of bad choice of the facts? I think I cannot understand at the first place. With that, I have one argument. I'm going to talk about why their policy giving the impact on youth in negative way and influence is not going well and already exists in the society. Before moving on to my first argument, I'm going to give up some of the cases from the community. They still cannot understand, right? To some people, drug is bad. I don't care, you guys don't use the drugs. It's your choice, right? But the thing is, to some countries, it is ongoing debate. Like the case of Netherlands, they never rebut. They only say drug is bad and there's economical reasons. I don't know why sure they must say something, right? They said impact on the public. But the problem is they never prove us why awards make it worse, right? Even if Eminem or Kurt Cobain never get awards, people like him. And people will be influenced by their policies usually. Then they talk about like cascade effect. I think you can use like promotion in easy words. It's so hard. But the problem is they never made a link. I really learned how to find the link. There is nothing. Why seeing people and seeing the people getting awards make people do their actions? I think I want to ask this question and thought speaker must deal with these problems. And like I said, even if I take that actions, why my lovely singer should take responsibility of my bad choice? I want to get involved then in my choices. And Ted clearly said, right, there's a freedom of the institution and there's a role of the institution, right? They must find the people who is most talented, who is most gifted. Their actions is not being in the judgment of the peoples. That is the stance of the debate. And moving on to my first argument, what's the impact on youth? Because they really want to get rid of some influence, but it's still there. Do you have any PR?
Not at this stage.
Okay, I'm so great. Moving on to my first impact on youth. Okay, I'm going to explain why the policy do this and make the consequence worse. Okay, they want to stop the influence, right? Just stop giving the awards. If I just stop giving the awards, okay, I'm not going to influence. If Logan cannot get any awards from this tournament and take, I'm going to be influenced anyway. Why? Because I can see him every day, right? Because he's my professor. If I come back to the university, I see him every day. That is the problem. Yes?
Sir, you say that rational people will never get influenced. Say all the arguments you're making have been told by Logan. So don't you think Logan influences your decisions? And hence, if Logan tells you to make a bad argument, it's still okay for the government to tell him not to make that.
You don't get the point. Even if Logan never get the awards, I will be influenced. And the problem of your policy is, I can see Eminem, I can see Kurt Cobain, I can see movie Kill Bill anyway. That is the influence every day. I think that is the problem, sir. Why their policies usually, like I said, they just deal on air like Eminem and the other people who just glorify drugs. I can see him every day. Just because they just stop people getting awards, that doesn't mean I cannot see these people. Why this problem, Madam Speaker? When there is an indie band, never get any awards from the society, there is a fact. There is more fans of indie fans because people just decide and educating people when they see the performance in their own mind. Awards have some power, but this is not whole influence. Why? Because not everybody in this room looks like award ceremony, right? Maybe some of people never read the newspaper. It is a minor effect. There is people just see and influence. I think this is the very problems. Like the Nirvana, before he got the awards from the MTV, he was more famous. I think that effect is already exists, and the policy is useless. Then why their policy make this worse? Because all the youth, every youth, have some rebellion mind against high authority, right? Because of their study and rules, I hate school, because we feel are oppressed by high authority. Why this is the problem, Madam Speaker? Because some singers or entertainer or artists I love, and I think he deserves to get that awards, but they said because they are just go against social norms and my mind and government policy, I just cut them off. In that moment, people feel these guys are heroes and I must pursue in the first place. Because I feel they are discriminated without any reasons and I feel pity. Secondly, this is the way they can fight against authority, which I hate the most at the first place. Then I will see more. I will be influenced more. Then I will follow their actions. Why? Because they never stop glorifying, right? And I see using their actions and norms is the way of fight against authority. That is the negative consequence they want to bring in this debate. I think this is really bad. And like when people, especially youth, right? When we see the people is discriminated without any reasons, they cannot do anything. I love him, but the authority, I think this is big impact on the people and they will use more because they think this is a method fight against these peoples. Okay, Madam Speaker, before end my speech, I have one more question, right? There's a lot of people just glorify violence. There's a lot of people glorify something there's a clear harm. But we still giving them awards, even if we see the clear harm. But drug is different. Just like saying drug is different. This is the ongoing debate. Ted clearly said this is the Netherlands and other countries. Why this is the only thing must ban in the society? They must say in this debate with the third speaker. With that, I'm strongly opposed to this motion.